Akira Toriyama is a legend and will go down as one of the greats of the industry, as well as magnum opus, Dragon Ball, a manga and anime that features some of the most iconic characters in the history of fiction. I'm talking characters like Goku, Vegeta and Frieza, to name just a few. But the original anime is quite old now, first airing all the way back in 1986 and running for a total of 153 episodes. Unlike a lot of shows from that time, it has certainly aged, which begs the question, in the current landscape where anime is producing hit after hit after hit, is there really any reason in bothering with the original Dragon Ball anime? Well, let's find out, shall we? Also, before I go any further, I just want to clarify that I'm only going to be talking about OG Dragon Ball in this video, so not Z or GT or anything like that. In fact, I'm not 100% sure what I should watch after the OG series, since there's all these different shows and non-canon material. So if someone could comment on the order for me, that would be great. And also, if you're interested in hearing my thoughts on those other Dragon Ball series, then do click the like and subscribe button, as it will give me the motivation to get working on those videos. After I watch those series, of course. Dragon Ball tells the tale of Son Goku, a newborn whose planet is on the verge of destruction. To escape death, he is sent away by a spacecraft, with his escape leading him to crashing on Earth, where he's taken in by an old man. Growing up to be the strongest being on the planet, Goku must hide his true identity and abilities by becoming a journalist at the Daily Planet? Wait, hang on a second. Sorry, that's Superman's origin story. I wonder how I got the two of them confused, although he is in this. No, Dragon Ball actually begins with Son Goku in the middle of bumblefuck nowhere, making some firewood. Right out the gate, I'm going to say that I wasn't expecting to see Goku with a tail. And no, I'm not talking about his penis, which he whips out every other episode. Put your balls away, Goku. No, I'm talking about his monkey tail, which also acts as his weakness, his kryptonite, if you will. At first I thought this was really random, until I learned that Dragon Ball is actually based on Journey to the West, a Chinese novel published in the 16th century, which also acted as the inspiration for the recent Black Myth Wukong game. Journey to the West follows a group of pilgrims as they attempt to collect sacred Buddhist texts from across Asia, all whilst facing off against demons, spirits, and other magical creatures. One of those pilgrims was Sun Wukong, also known as the Monkey King. This is the character that acts as inspiration for Goku. In fact, Sun Wukong literally translates to Son Goku in Japanese. On top of this, Sun Wukong would utilize magical artifacts such as his staff, which could stretch to any length, as well as a cloud which he could use to soar through the skies. This staff is clearly inspiration for Goku's Noibo, with Kintoen being based on Su Wukong's cloud. Also, Sun Wukong is literally a monkey man, hence his Monkey King title, with this being the reason why Goku both possesses a monkey tail, as well as why he turns into King Kong after gazing at the full moon. After a demonstration of Goku's current abilities, we're introduced to Bulma, a character who's packed to the brim with state-of-the-art equipment. For you see, Dragon Ball is some of the most confusing world building that I've ever witnessed. Whilst Goku might be walking around in what appears to be prehistoric times, with literal dinosaurs roaming around, Bulma has technology far more advanced than anything we have in our own world, which makes this show's world feel simultaneously ancient yet futuristic at the same time. Truthfully, I kinda dislike the lack of consistency to this world. In some ways it's good because the show can literally introduce and do anything with its characters and world. You could have Godzilla, the Terminator, Dracula and the Grinch show up and it would make complete sense. However, it also results in the world lacking a bit of a cohesive identity, with there being no sense of location in these episodes. I don't know where the characters are going or why certain locations are the way that they are. It always felt like every place the characters went to was completely random, with no thought behind it, other than we haven't seen Goku in a snowy place, so let's have him go to a snowy place for this arc. This randomness also extends to the characters, since so many fights would have people pull abilities out of their arse, with no setup explaining how they could do those things. It was definitely cool to see these things, but there were a lot of fights in this series that were very one-sided, until the losing character all of a sudden says, "I haven't used this technique since the Heian era," and then just wins the fight out of nowhere. But regardless, that is the world Goku lives in, and I just have to accept it. Whilst Bulma searches for something, Goku says goodbye to his granddad. Except it isn't his granddad, since he's dead. Instead, it's a Dragon Ball, this story's version of the sacred Buddhist text that the pilgrims attempted to collect in Journey to the West. In total, there are 7 Dragon Balls, and when all of them are collected, a great big dragon is summoned who will grant you any wish. Hence why so many people are after them, including Bulma, who quite literally runs Goku over when she meets him. She even shoots him too, for good measure. I love this first interaction between these two, as it sets them both up spectacularly. Firstly, it demonstrates how stupid Goku is. He literally mistakes Bulma's car for a mechanical beast. Throughout this entire series, you can't help but wonder if Goku is suffering from brain damage. Some of the things that he says, with false sincerity, completely caught me off guard. This show got some really big laughs out of me with how unexpectedly dumb he could be. Honestly, Goku's personality won me over the instant he started laughing at how ridiculous Bulma's name is. It's such a simple thing, but it caused the character to really click with me. I also love that he asks what her name is, and it's literally on her top. On top of this, despite acknowledging that her name is really weird, I love that Bulma has her name on almost all of her outfits. But you see, Bulma is just as ridiculous as Goku is. Is it Gwyneth Paltrow's latest Goop product? Bulma is the smartest character in Dragon Ball by far. She may also be my favourite character in the series so far too, since she can do all these incredible things, such as creating a radar that can find the Dragon Balls with pinpoint accuracy. Yet her grand wish to Shenlong is to simply get a boyfriend. See, she's stupid in her own way. In fact, if Bulma actually existed in the real world, then I have no doubt that she'd be an OnlyFans model. She is far too willing to give people her used panties, as well as flash people to get what she wants, for that not to be the case. She would literally be selling her own bathwater now, if she could. Honestly, with how intelligent she is, she'd just have an AR bot version of herself that you could talk to. I love Bulma because, like the rest of the show, she's very silly and also very funny. But unlike a lot of the characters in Dragon Ball, she's also useful too. And she can also be a little morally grey as well, taking advantage of Goku's strength so that she can get what she wants. Fantastic character. After attempting to kill each other, the two become acquainted with one another, with Bulma also revealing to Goku that the Dragon Ball isn't actually his granddad. Utilising the prospect of him becoming just as strong as his grandfather was if he does so, Bulma is able to lure him into agreeing to help her collect the other Dragon Balls. However, they're not the only ones interested in these golden balls, with many wanting them for their own nefarious purposes. Can Goku and Bulma get all the Dragon Balls so she can finally get some, or will some random dickhead get them before our heroes? Find out all that and more in this wonderful adventure that will go on to span many decades as well as many different series that I would again really appreciate someone telling me the correct order to. Whilst I did enjoy my time with this anime, I do have some criticisms that I'd like to talk about, but before I get into them, I want to mention one of my favourite things in this anime, and that would be the characters. Even though the show has aged, again I'll get to that in a second, these characters have a timeless quality to them that makes most of them just as appealing today as they were when they first graced our screens all the way back in 1986. When I went to this anime, the only thing I knew was that at some point, Yamcha was going to get his ass beat in a historic moment. Now that didn't happen in this series, it's probably being safe for Z, but after watching this anime, I felt a little sad about that, because I actually quite like Yamcha. I never found him cool or anything, despite the show's best attempts, since I knew what his fate would be, but I quite enjoyed having a more mature male character around compared to literal children present. Kuririn, or is it Krillin? I don't know. It seems his name is Kuririn, but I've seen loads of people call him Krillin. I'm going to go with Kuririn since that's what the subtitle said on what I watched. Regardless of what his actual name is, I at least know that it means chestnut in reference to how his head looks. I love Kuririn's bromance with Goku and how the two were legitimately supportive of one another, and I love the smug face that he occasionally pulls. Some people have resting bitch face, but Kuririn was blessed with resting smug face. I was always excited to see him return after long stretches of being absent, and I can't wait to see him again in Dragon Ball Z. I also wonder what an older version of Kuririn would look like. Characters like Lunch and Tenshinhan really grew on me. Even Roshi, who I really didn't like at first, became one of the show's best characters for me. I didn't, and still don't, like his excessive pervertedness, with it diluting his character and making him one note in my eyes. You can really feel how old this show is by how lewd it gets. Now anime is, and will forever be lewd, but Dragon Ball has an old school perviness to it, with everyone including Roshi being focused on girls' panties and skirts being flipped. I know it's a hated trait in anime for the female character to hit the male characters, but I never had any issues with Bulma doing it to the rest of this cast, since some of them are constantly trying to sexually assault her. However, Roshi does get some great moments too, where we get to see why he's so well respected by others, and even though he has a major character flaw, his positives end up outweighing his big negative. And then there's Jackie Chun, the greatest character in fiction. Unfortunately, not all the characters are as strong as the ones that I just mentioned, with the biggest draw of my ire being Oolong. I absolutely hated this character. He should have been a one-off. He represents the worst of the perversion in this series, since that's all there is to him. He even roofies Bulma in one episode. I know, he's an awful character, and anytime he spoke, I wanted a stray Kamehameha to hit him in the face. Honestly, I never understood why he joined the main group. He had no reason to. They just hand-waved the explanation away. It feels like he's only part of the group because he was in the mid-break card. That and because of Journey to the West, since one of the pilgrims was Zubaji, a pig man who could shapeshift and had a strong lust for women. He's by far the worst character in Dragon Ball, with the only thing him being good for is a bacon sandwich. It's not just Oolong who sucks, since the villains in this anime were really weak too. Pilaf and his goons were basically this anime's version of Team Rocket, which led to some funny moments, but also meant they never felt like an actual threat. The Red Ribbon Army were awful. They took up far too much time in this anime just to be as mediocre as they were. They were basically just punching bags for Goku since he was so much stronger than them. Although I did like General Blue, who by the way, got the most disrespectful dispatch that I've ever seen a villain receive. And I also really did like Piccolo 2.0, I can't wait to see more of him in Dragon Ball Z. Also, as I alluded to earlier, this is a really funny anime.
どうしたこのデブデブ
じゃない俺様は
I'm Batman. Dragon Ball's humour is often shocking and unexpected, like with Goku giving everyone's privates the double tap, since he can't tell the difference between men and women. When he did this with Bulma the first time, I couldn't stop laughing. It was so genuinely unexpected that I didn't really know how I should respond. The fact that this became a recurring character trait for Goku was also hilarious, with my favourite instance being when he gave Oolong the pat down. If he keeps doing this in Dragon Ball Z, then I would totally understand why people are constantly trying to kill him. It's a good thing that this show is so funny, because at times I couldn't help but find it a little bit boring, especially near the start of the anime. However, it seems that I'm not alone in that feeling, since Toriyama himself has gone on record stating that Dragon Ball wasn't that popular when it began, as translated from a 1995 interview by fansite Kensenshu. Fortunately, his previous work Dr. Slump provides some much needed guidance, since in that manga, the most popular arcs were based around tournaments and competitions, which as you can probably guess, led Toriyama to creating the Tenkaichi Budokai, something which signals a shift in Dragon Ball to something more serious and actiony compared to what came before. It's also when I started to enjoy the series more too, because Dragon Ball started to feel less meandering and more streamlined. Even though the animation, of course, doesn't compare to the best of today, I was still pleasantly surprised by how impactful and legitimately cool some of the moments in this series were, and there are some fights where the animation has held up shockingly well. The introduction of the Tenkaichi Budokai doesn't just introduce plenty of new and very engaging characters, but but also starts a steady increase in quality for this series that culminates in the Piccolo arc, as well as the very final Tenkaichi Budokai, which is the high point of the show for me. That said, I do have a minor criticism about how the show would often fall into repetition, since every arc of Dragon Ball ends up being one of three things: a training arc, a tournament arc, or an arc where they collect the Dragon Balls, with the stuff with Piccolo being all three. It's not a big deal, just something that I couldn't help but notice. We often talk about whether or not shows in the past would still be big hits these days, and I really feel like Dragon Ball wouldn't have been had it released now, especially with how trigger happy Shonen Jump is nowadays. They'd have put this out to pasture without a second thought, because at least for me, Dragon Ball doesn't have the strongest of starts. But luckily for us, Dragon Ball didn't come out today. It came out quite a while ago and was allowed the opportunity to develop and become a mega hit. And as I said, this anime does get a lot better in a way that makes me very excited to see what Dragon Ball Z has in store for me. Does make you wonder though, what other potential mega hits there could be nowadays if Shonen Jump were a little more willing to give them the chance to improve. But regardless, Dragon Ball is a cultural phenomenon. Yes, it's aged, with a clear sign of its age being how a bunch of the voice actors voice multiple characters, like Bulma being Kid Piccolo, and Kuririn being Batman, and Tambourine's voice actor going on to become Frieza. And yes, it doesn't look as good as a lot of the anime that we have now, with the new kids on the block being far better looking. And yes, like a lot of old shows, the pacing can be abysmal, with it feeling like the series is dragging its feet through treacle. But at the same time, this anime can be a lot of fun, with us watching as Goku and his rivals turned personal cheerleaders take on the world. Whilst it is certainly derivative of many other things, Dragon Ball still feels unique, with it slowly separating itself more and more from the constraints of Journey to the West story as it goes on, by forging its own path and introducing new elements never before seen in what inspired it. So to answer the title of this video, is Dragon Ball still worth watching? For me, it is. It's far from my favourite anime, but I still greatly enjoyed my time with it, and I am really looking forward to diving into more of what Dragon Ball has to offer. What would make me even more excited to check out the rest of Dragon Ball is if you would click that like and subscribe button. It would really motivate me to watch those series and get started on those videos as soon as I can, and it really helps both me and this video out. And whilst you're down there clicking both of those buttons, do be sure to drop a comment. These were just my thoughts on OG Dragon Ball. What are yours? Do you like this Dragon Ball series? Who's your favourite character? How many of these do I have to watch before I get to Daima? And when I do get around to these other series, take Dragon Ball Z for example, would you rather I did a video on the entire anime, or instead separate videos on each arc? I'm happy to do either. Whatever your answer is, let me know down below. And before you go, let me just say thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you in the next one.
Bye bye!